Okay, so we're here to learn about karma, and we're going to begin by wondering, well, why do we need to know about karma? And the reason why we need to know about karma is because we want to be happy. So just check. Do you want to be happy? I mean, of course we all have a different understanding of what happiness is, but in general it's a useful word for feeling good, feeling positive, enjoying what there is to enjoy. And we all want that, of course. You can come and sit here if you like. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay. So when I was driving here, I was asking myself this question about happiness. And I was thinking, well, what is happiness? And then I thought, well, happiness is the fact that the car didn't break down. Happiness is the fact that the road is very smooth. Happiness is the fact that the other drivers weren't too difficult today. Happiness is the fact that the ways actually worked today. Happiness is that the sun was shining. I mean, and also it was warm, so it was warm, but also the sunlight is is pleasing. There's probably some other things. Oh yes, had a good lunch before. So happiness was having a nice feeling in the stomach. So all of these things, I would say, are happiness. And if you think about it, we're among the very fortunate people in the world because we have those kinds of things. Many people in the world do not have any of those things. But they may have one or two, but they don't have all of those things. And these are all signs of good karma. They're all signs of something that we did in the past that brought us in connection with these things. But having said that, these are all material things. And the fact is that being among the privileged people of the world, which I think all of us in this room are, and having, materially quite a good life actually, we can still be very unhappy. Isn't it? It's true. So happiness doesn't just come through material things. It depends partly how you relate to those things. Do you feel fortunate? Do you feel, I have such a good life and now I can really make good use of this life? Or do you quite often feel sorry for yourself? Oh, this. A burden of all these bad things, all these heavy things, all these bad feelings inside about myself, about my situation, it's not quite right here, or this person spoke to me like that, or my mother did this, or all these different things. The story is so full inside here. Even if we have all those fortunate things, we're driving along, we don't notice, we just feel miserable inside. This can happen, it's like that. The situation where we find ourselves now, right now we're in this room together, it's comfortable, it's pleasant, everybody here is a nice person, we look around, we can see very nice faces, like friendly atmosphere. And we have the opportunity to reflect on the Dharma. So we have the connection with the Dharma in this life. We all just meditated. We have some space in our life to meditate. And we have the opportunity to listen to someone leading the meditation, which is guiding us towards some deeper understanding of different things, like our mind and our life and different things. All these things are very, very positive. These things came from positive causes. It's not just an accident. They came from positive causes, and we created the causes to be here now, in this situation. So in this sense, karma is very scientific, because in science we're always looking, what is the cause of this? What result will come from that? This is the scientific approach, is to try to understand how things come about, what makes this happen. Not just saying, oh, it's the way it is. No, trying to understand how it happened. And one of the reasons why we need to understand the karmic process is so that we can make good things happen in future. And then think about why we're here in the relation to that. What will come from being here and thinking about this topic? Being here, connecting with the Dharma, doing the meditation practices, and there'll be some discussions, and just even now, as I speak, thinking in your mind, what's he talking about? What's he saying? How does it relate to my life? Just thinking about those things. This brings you towards Dharma. What is Dharma? It's not some religion. Forget that. Dharma is the inner reality of the present moment. The reality of our situation when we take away all the deceptions. In a way you can say Dharma is the truth of our situation, if you like. But we can't always see the truth of our situation, so we need a path to be able to see it. So the Dharma is also the path to be able to experience that. I'm sure you know the teaching about the Four Noble Truths, most of you, but let me just remind you. The first truth is suffering. To acknowledge our own suffering. What is causing us problems? What don't we like? What is upsetting us? What is hurting in this life, at this moment? Then the second one, the origin of suffering. What is it that brings about the suffering? What caused it? And the answer to that, afflictive emotion or delusion and karma. Those two things bring about the suffering. Then the third noble truth is the cessation of suffering. The possibility to go beyond suffering. And this is called the ultimate Dharma, the cessation, or it's also called nirvana. It's when all the suffering and all its causes just stop. And it can't be created anymore. We can still be sitting here, but without suffering. It's not like we have to go to another place up in the sky. It's here, where we are, right now, is nirvana. If we see it like that, if we experience it like that, it is nirvana. The suffering is something created by our karma and our destructive emotions, what we call afflictions, destructive emotions. And the cessation is when it all stops, when it's finally removed and we're clear, we are in peace, the inner peace of nirvana. And then the fourth noble truth is the path to the cessation. And in practical terms, that's the one we need. We need to know the path, we need to trust the path, and above all, we need to follow the path. And included in the path is the methods for purifying, removing the afflictions and the karma, for purifying that, so it can no longer disturb our mind and no longer create the difficult situations. I think that right at the beginning we have to take responsibility for our happiness and our suffering and stop blaming others. This itself is a challenge for most of us. As soon as something goes wrong, we want to blame somebody else. Why? Because if I blame myself, I feel so guilty. I will hate myself. I will feel terrible. No need to do that. Just accept, I make mistakes. Why do I make mistakes? Because I don't always understand what is happening. I don't always know what is best to do. So taking responsibility goes with forgiving yourself, accepting yourself with your mistakes. You know, these two have to go together. Then you can take responsibility. It's like when you're driving the car. You're taking responsibility for the car, for going in the right direction and driving safely and being careful. Sometimes we make mistakes. We maybe take the wrong turning, or maybe we have a little accident or something, you know. I mean, all kinds of things can happen. And then we just have to get over it. We have to move on. We have to mend the car, or drive, or find the new direction if we took the wrong turning. At the time you say, "Oh, I made a mistake." You feel a little bit annoyed with yourself, but then you have to just accept it. So it should be like that, with taking responsibility for our karma. Taking responsibility for our destiny. Stop blaming other people. Of course, other people can be difficult, other people can harm us, other people can cause us all kinds of trouble. It's true. Then the challenge is to understand my own responsibility in bringing myself into connection with that situation, with that person, or that group of people, or those circumstances. Why am I here now in this difficult situation? The question, what did I do in the past that brought me here now? And then, if we're taking responsibility, there's another really good question. What can I learn from this? I'm having some trouble, but what can I learn from it? Because if you just spend your life blaming others, you never learn. You never learn. It's like you never grow up. If you blame others all the time, you never grow up. A mature person takes responsibility. Of course, because of previous karma, things happen to us. Maybe we get really sick. Maybe we die from that sickness. But maybe there's nothing we can do about it. You know, we try. We go to the best doctors we can and we take the medicine, we do the things, but it doesn't always work. So what are we going to do? We're going to blame some genetic thing from our mum and dad, or what? With the understanding of karma, even when bad things happen, you can take responsibility. And when you take responsibility, you can accept things more clearly. There's a Tibetan joke about that, I'll tell you. There's 3 people sleeping together in a room, and one of them wakes up, and there's a terrible smell in the room. And they realize, somebody farted in the night. And they think, was it him or was it her? They're not sure who it is. They feel very angry. And then suddenly they think, oh, maybe it was me. And then they relax and go back to sleep. This is a Tibetan joke about karma. And it's about taking responsibility instead of blaming the other. And it makes you feel more relaxed. Because you know, oh, I'm responsible for this. And if I don't want to have this problem in the future, I better watch what I eat. It's up to me what happens to me. This is a much better feeling. Some people blame God, actually, don't they? You created the world, you created all this suffering, you are responsible. Actually, it's very childish, really, to think like that. But, you know, there's so many things in the world. I mean, we think the world is so terrible nowadays, don't we? But we are here in this world now. Whether it's terrible or not is very much to do with the way we relate to it. It's up to us. There's many good things in the world. What are we going to focus on? The bad things or the good things? Of course, we should be realistic. It's not to deny the bad things, but keep them in perspective. Balance them with the good things. And you make sure you create good things. Not just for your own future, but for the future of others around you. I think this is the way to live in a positive way. Taking responsibility. Let me bring my mind into organization, and then I'll take some questions. Maybe, okay, let's open it up. Okay, yeah.
You have described the wonderful conditions that all, one after the other, ripened when you came here. The car,
the journey, was very good.
Where does this lousy tendency that I have, this and this and this and this, 20 conditions, they all work perfectly, and then one thing doesn't work and becomes the whole thing. Where is it coming from? I mean, it's really stupid.
Yeah.
But it's there.
Well, we're all different as where it comes from. I'm sure there's many psychological explanations, and maybe they're correct, that something in us didn't grow up. We're still stuck as that little boy or little girl saying, "Mummy, Daddy, please help me, please sort out my problems." So it may be something to do with that. But from the general Buddhist perspective, it's just being unrealistic. Unrealistic in expecting everything should go right. And if one thing goes wrong, or two things go wrong, among all these wonderful things, then I'm really going to focus on that. That is unrealistic. I'll give you an example. This morning, and generally in the mornings at the moment, I feel quite cold. And I'm doing my meditation and I'm putting many layers on, but I'm still feeling quite cold and my hands are getting cold. But you know, every morning I just think about the refugees that just left, you call it Alep? Khaleb. Who just left Khaleb. I mean, they don't have a house. Many of them don't have enough clothes. They don't have the food to keep the body warm. Why am I complaining? It's not very difficult to think about people in a worse situation than you when you're starting to feel a bit sorry for yourself. That's the problem, isn't it? You're explaining. Feeling sorry for yourself.
Not that.
No?
It's the previous one that you described, expecting everything to be perfect.
All right. You know, when we say we're in samsara, what does it mean? Does it mean this place? Is this room samsara? Is this city samsara? No. No, samsara is the state of mind. And samsara, the state of mind, is coming from not seeing reality, not fully engaged with reality. Because if we're practicing Dharma, to some extent we are seeing reality. But then the negative mind comes back and takes over, and that mind is distorting reality. It's grasping at a real me and a real situation, truly existing, which is not the case at all. It's fabricating a whole story. And in samsara, there is no happiness. So let's get used to the fact that while we're in samsara, there will be unhappiness, even when we enjoy things. Supposing that you're sitting at the table and you have a wonderful bowl of strawberries and you have a wonderful whatever else you like, all very lovely, the sun is shining, okay? Because you're in samsara, you grasp. You create the distortion even with your pleasure. Okay? This is part of the problem. Part of the problem. If our mind is free, which is what we call liberation or nirvana, we can still sit at the same table. We can still have this thing or that thing or the other thing. But also, if the walls fall down and everything, we're still in nirvana. Even if a bomb drops on the house, we're in nirvana. That's the point about nirvana. This is one thing Lama Yeshe said. He said, when your mind is in nirvana, even if a nuclear bomb drops on your head, you don't feel anything. I mean, it's a little extreme, but that's the way Lama used to talk.
Because you're the white the state of white clear light, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you feel?
That's right, yeah. So your mind,
You don't care.
your mind is beyond that. Your mind is beyond that problem. Yeah.
But it's by surprise. So
Okay. But in our case, we get annoyed by even small things that are wrong. And exactly. So we need to train ourselves to recognize the reality. One, how fortunate we are, and then second, use this opportunity to practice Dharma, to create good causes, not just for oneself, but so we can benefit others. Others, really, they don't have this opportunity. Okay, Mika.
I find out, according to what Shuki said, that at least with me, when there are big problems, I handle it. Go, I sit with myself and say, okay, it's bad, but okay. And I had opportunities like the rest of us. But I think like the everyday thing that something will cancel, and then we start to build up this. We don't even see that we're building it up, and it goes from the grind the road and the way it didn't work and the flat tire, and that somebody calls and then suddenly we find ourselves in this
annoying situation.
So that's and that is, I think, when we can lose it and go into the slippery slope.
That's right. And the problem is that when our mind goes like that, then we start to do angry things, like we take actions with our voice and our body to harm others, then we create more karma for bad experiences in the future. And these experiences which annoy us came because we did bad karma in the past. The karma is just the action. And the action of the body and the speech comes from our mind. It's our intention. What is our attitude? If our attitude is harmful, then the action is non-virtuous, as we said in the meditation, and the result will be some kind of suffering. If the intention is virtuous, to not harm others, to maybe help others, then the action will be virtuous and the result will be something positive. So when we look around us and we have so many positive things in our world, in our life, we should rejoice. In the past I did many good things. Look how wonderful that is. Look what I brought. I'm in this situation. How fortunate. And then this also inspires us to do good things for the future. I should try to sustain this good situation so that I can continue to practice. Okay? Yeah? No? Somebody else wants to ask or speak?
I think that when we look at the good things that we have a lot. We are full of good things around us, but we don't really see it. And if we really ponder about it for a long time and really think how fortunate we are, sometimes bad things happen, then we can see a larger picture, and I think it helps. Mm-hmm. Because we really so fortunate. I think the other time we talked about the death process in the body, how the fragile the body is. If we want to think about the body, how it sustains so perfectly and so nicely, and what the planets around, so we are really so in a precious situation. We really should acknowledge it. It's really serious. Then if bad things happen, it happens. It's a bit annoying sometimes, but maybe we can be less annoyed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so now I'd like you to have a discussion with the person sitting next to you, so you can discuss your own opinions about these questions. And this is the question for you to discuss. If you listen to the question, then you'll know what to discuss. Okay, the question is, are the origins of happiness and suffering, are the origins or causes of happiness and suffering internal or external? That's the question. And by the way, the answer is not simple.
Repeat the question again. The question is not simple.
Are the origins or the causes of happiness and suffering internal or external? Are the causes internal or external? Please discuss that with your partner.